Good afternoon, everyone. This is a video teleconference meeting with the Franklin County Fiscal Court concerning the 2022-23 budget work session. And this meeting will end at 5 o'clock. So with that, the first item on the agenda, I'm going to ask Susan to review, recap revenue, if you would. Welcome, Susan.
Good afternoon, Court. First, I thought we would start off with, as you know, we didn't send out any new documents. We're still operating from our same budget documents from the 4/26 meeting. I thought I would just recap. There were some minor changes that totaled about overall $7,761 decrease in the general fund, but we had some minor changes overall to a couple of line items. You know, we incorporated the county attorney's request and the county coroner's request, and then there was an input error on the maintenance department. So those corrections overall sum to a decrease of $7,761. So that's very minor, and the document that I have will reflect that, but I figure there'll probably be more changes, so I'll wait before I give you all another master document. So if you want to just work from what you have so far, that was the big part of the numbers. But the most important thing overall that we really need to remember about the fiscal court budget is that it's consolidated for a lot of other operations and county government. So when we build our budget, we wrap in, as you know, the jail, because the jailer's already presented his budget. So we wrap in the jail to the fiscal court budget. And we also wrap in the fee office budgets to a certain extent for administration of their payroll. So the sheriff's office payroll and benefits are wrapped into the fiscal court budget. And there is a partial reimbursement, but then fiscal court picks up the fringe benefits, as you're aware, and the same thing with the clerk's office budget. So we wrap those numbers in. So when we start wrapping those numbers in, it makes our budget grow and look much larger overall when we're incorporating a whole lot of different areas of service. I sent out a brief highlight narrative, but the big news is the comment at the bottom that we are booking a lot of revenue right now because our quarter end deadline was April 30th. So everyone's been fast and furious and processing those receipts and trying to get them booked. So I did send out an updated revenue report. I hope you got that or have copies of that available, because that does have some good numbers on it. I thought I'd bring that up on the screen just to share, because these numbers are, of course, important, and how much we will have to meet our current budget and carry over. Yes, Squire Sebastian, I see a hand.
Yeah, I just was asking quickly, is that part of the packet, the physical packet we received? Because I'm just trying to make sure in the physical packet that I got, it doesn't have new revised or updated revenue data. I'm just trying to make sure I'm working from the same thing. That doesn't look like anything I got.
You're not here. It doesn't, you're not here. This information, I just printed this about 3 hours ago.
Okay.
And I think I don't know if it was sent out electronically or not. If the clerk sent, I don't recall at this point. I think I did. I think I sent it out electronically as well a couple hours ago.
I
have it on the screen now.
Okay. Well, my best to look on my small screen. I've been in meetings since 11 o'clock. I apologize.
Okay. I'm in my office, and everyone, I would come into the courtroom, but it doesn't look like anybody's here either. So anyway, the numbers have been updated. We have met our budgets in many of the categories and exceeded our budgets in many of the categories. And this information will be obviously very important in making projections for the year end and fine tuning those projections for the upcoming budget as well. A couple of things I want to note that I will incorporate into the next revision of our budget document is that, as you know, we have an agreement with the city for shared taxes. So we have a receipt and with disbursement. We do have that disbursement highlighted on a separate line item. I'm incorporating a separate revenue line item to show that occupational tax that we share with them, and that they share with us, so that we know how much we're getting every year. So that'll show as a separate revenue line item. So we'll know when we get it and we'll know how much it is. So for this year, that was $560,000 that we received from the city portion of the shared tax agreement. So we'll have that, as well as the other item that we have a history of now, and we have also expanded the agreement again with the city, is for the planning and zoning operations for the inspectors. So we will have a line item that will highlight that reimbursement as well for the shared inspectors, so that we can better monitor that and see that particular number. I have the revenue data on the screen now, so you can see for payroll taxes, we've hit our budget. We budgeted 5 million. We've taken in 5.3. So we are in good shape there. Our insurance premium taxes they're still being booked. So we'll see if we make our budgeted target. But I think that I feel like we will. I think there was some receipts that were still being posted this afternoon that are coming in. So to date, I highlight the specific revenue sources, those that actually provide us with the general funds that can feed into the other line items that we need. So,
Susan?
yes,
Susan,
sir.
go back to the occupational tax, please. I mean, this is
Yes.
this
Yes.
important news. We are up $368,000 over last year in occupational tax.
That's correct. Yes.
So I see these things going around that we've lost all of these jobs, all of this money, but we're up almost $400,000 in occupational tax. So that's pretty good. If we've lost, if it's being said we've lost all these jobs, we sure are doing well for having that much money coming in off occupational tax.
I'm reporting black and white information here. I don't know about any other comments or narratives, but these are the numbers that we've tabulated to date. So,
Okay, Squire Blackburn's got a question.
It's not a question. This is just a point of reference for context. We're up 300,000. I wonder how much the city's down. We're a community, and we've lost it in places and gained it in others just because of the fact of where people work. So there's a lot that goes into that number, more than just to say we're up because of jobs. It's a lot of things.
That's true, but we only deal with the county budget and not the city budget. But in our case, the only thing that we have a little bit of control over is the county budget, and so that's impressive that it's up over 7% over last year. That means that the county is doing. We're recovering, and that's what I like. That's what I think we all should be happy about, that we are recovering. We're not recovered, but we are recovering. Go ahead, Susan. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Okay. That's all right. So as far as the revenues go, I don't know if there's any specific questions, but once again, we are monitoring those very closely, and we'll be wrapping those into year-end projections. Let me change our document here. I'm going to go to our summary analysis that we have for our budget. Let's see, can you see this? Am I still sharing? No, I am still sharing.
Yeah, I could see
Okay.
it.
I don't know if that's big enough or not. Let's see.
It's fine.
Okay, here's a bigger version. So by fund, and again, I try to manage this in the format that we have to submit it. As you know, we have to submit this to the Department for Local Government before June 1st to get a operational budget in place for July 1st. And it is parsed out by fund. So some of the highlights that I put in the narrative, just again to recap those. And again, I know it was a little hodgepodge, and when I do it in a narrative form like that, but it's really important to remember some of the big ticket items that we have that are special investments that are outside of our regular operational budget, which, I'm sure you all recognize is around $30 million is where we are with our regular operations, but with a lot of special circumstances, including the federal money and some capital projects that the county wants to take on, that bottom line, as dear Squire Sturgeon would say, looks really, really big this year, and it is really, really big. It's a serious number. It's a serious consideration. But in particular, what we have involved here are in the capital acquisition fund. What we're representing in that fund are some plans, in particular for the road garage facility. That's almost $5 million of that is for the road garage facility, for the planning and construction of that. The Humane Society commitment of $1 million is also represented in this capital fund. So and then our existing debt service on the energy project and fire station and fire truck are represented in this fund. So this fund is entirely, really big projects and big ticket commitments that we are just now budgeting for this year. Yes, is there a question?
I can't see it.
I-
Susan, this is
Muller, go ahead.
Muller. Question, has anybody talked to the Humane Society? Are they gonna need that full $1 million this year, or is it gonna be spread over the next two?
I saw Sam downtown about a day before yesterday, and they said they're still on track. So as far as I know,
Okay,
they're still on track. I don't know what that means, but as far as that goes, it's also in county budgeting. We didn't even budget the money last year, but we had a commitment. We have a commitment of $1 million. So, what do you do about that? If the money's not budgeted, it's not available to spend. If you do budget it, flip side, it doesn't mean you are going to spend it. Okay. It's a budget, it's a plan. And for county governments, it is the most transparent way of keeping track of some of those commitments, because we don't have any kind of separate, this is where we operate from. And if we go ahead and show that project commitment out there for the full amount, then you don't lose sight that there is going to be a financial obligation at some point, whether it be from surplus or current funds or some other outside source of pass-through of revenue. But I recommend always that we take that kind of approach until we start the project. And then when you have percentages of completion that knock that off, then you have when they cross over between fiscal years, then you have that good starting point of what was the total project versus if we say, okay, well, we're going to guess that we're only going to do half of it this year. And so we'll only put in, $500,000, and then that gets a little messy to track, to keep track of your whole obligation if you don't start with the whole big picture. So
Okay.
that's the way
Thank you.
that's the way it's represented. If, as we know, reality and budget formats are two different things. So,
All right, thank
but
you.
that's what's represented in the capital fund.
Susan, let's Susan.
Yes.
Let's let Squire Sebastian ask her question,
Okay,
please.
please. Mhm.
Thank you, Judge. And Madam Treasurer, I just wanted to ensure that I understood what was in the line item or what makes up the total federal CDBG fund for $3,362,300, the way I'm seeing it project on the screen, and then the capital acquisition fund of 6.3. I guess the 6.3 in my reckoning is the fire truck and the energy. Is that correct?
Well, the 6.3 is the road facility, the road garage.
Yeah.
Okay, which is 4.6, almost 4.6, $1 million, $1 million for the Humane Society.
Okay.
Okay. And then the debt service on our existing debt service, which is $679,000.
Okay, hang on then. I just want to make sure, and I'm not sure. All right, so I understand budget appropriations. I understand what the road fund is. I understand what's in the jail fund, LGE, and what that is.
Right.
A federal CDBG fund. Not sure because
okay, that's
title.
fund, the Fund 07. As it's presented right now, we have $162,300 left on the Farmdale Sanitation. That's the phase 1 EPA grant that has been extended. That's the balance that passes through. That is not county money that passes through. That's all EPA money on that side. And then the way it's also formulated right now, but it will change, is the utility program through Bluegrass Ad. But we have word that I think they're going to claw back some of that money. It's a reimbursement program anyway, so there may be a change there. But on the flip side, we'll probably have a carryover of the Farmdale Sanitation Emergency Grant, which they've only utilized about $120,000 because they are experiencing major obstacles in acquiring the equipment they need for their repairs. So that $200,000 that we currently have budgeted in that fund, what we call the federal CDBG fund, that $200,000, the actual distribution of that will probably change slightly. There'll have to be some changes is all I'm saying.
Okay, and the Farmdale number again, and I know that's a direct pass through, and I know that is really old money that we've carried forward. And that figure again was
It is 162.3.
162.
That's
okay.
on the appropriations detail. It's itemized out. Yes.
Okay, thanks. I'm just seeing what's on the screen right now.
Well, if you have your handout from the last meeting, the appropriations detail, it's on page, it was page 14. Page 14 of your appropriations detail summary from the last meeting. That's the federal fund. Okay, so I'm still working from the same document.
Okay, all right.
Okay, does that help?
Yep, I've got page 14 here.
Yes. Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
you.
It is official. I sent you a copy of the letter yesterday that Commissioner Keene sent to our office and Northcutt got it too, that there was originally $200,000 in that utility grant through CDBG. It's now been reduced to 50,000. I know Ann has, and I don't know, Ann Northcutt, are you on?
Yes, sir, I'm on. Yes, I spoke to Billy Johnson at DLG just today, just asking about that, and she explained that all of those grants have been cut back because they're seeing that there are other programs available to help with utility assistance. But she did assure me that if we use the 50,000 and still experience need, that we can ask for additional funds. So, yeah, that was good to hear, but that's been a statewide, everybody that received that grant has received the cutback, but that there is still funding available should we need more than that 50,000.
Okay, but I think Ann, don't you think it'd be safe to budget 50,000?
You know, I would leave that up to Susan, how she thinks it'd work better as far as figures go. Ms. Schaus from Bluegrass Community Action, when I talked to her, she thought there was still some significant need out there in Franklin County since we're just getting to the point where we can get access to those funds. And Billy agreed with me. It's been a cumbersome structure for this particular grant. So I would leave it up to Susan whether she wants to go ahead and take that back to 50,000 and hope that you know, the state's correct, and assuming that there are other programs out there covering that need, that would be a definite treasurer question.
It's represented in the budget as 100% pass through. It was not county money.
Right.
It was actually federal money. And
Exactly.
and in fact, that being said, the Farmdale Sanitation District Emergency Project was actually county money. So that was actually represented. It's currently represented in a different fund in our capital fund. So I'll have to make an adjustment for that because it looks like that program is going to carry over. We just got an update. Robert gave me an update on that yesterday, and they're just having a horrible time trying to find the equipment they need, even though it's a really serious situation. It's just it's taking time. So again, we'll try to get it framed up as accurately as possible, but I will probably go ahead and drop that since we're still in the formulation stages of our budget. I'll go ahead and reflect that change on that CDBG back, or that Bluegrass ad back to the 50,000. Squire Sebastian.
Yes, ma'am. I have my hand up. It's probably hard to see. A question about the Judicial Center. I know there were some bonds within the past in the current fiscal year that we retired early. We went ahead and used cash to take advantage of that. In regard to maybe the Judicial Center and other bonds like that are outstanding, capital bonds. How close are we? And I've got multi-page document here if you want to send a specific page on that.
I have not distributed the liability schedule. The liability, and I'll send that to you. Actually, I'll use that as a segue, Judge, if I may divert. We are already having some conversations about how much it's going to cost to borrow money. As you know, we have for the road department facility. This budget does represent that the facility as well as the architectural and CM administration will be funded with borrowed funds. And we're looking probably at a 20-year bond consideration on that, and financing in a new environment where the rates are obviously changing, fluctuating quite a bit, but we'll see what the impact is on the bond market when the time comes. But we'll get our efforts lined up because, again, it takes time administratively to go through the regulatory process, which we have to do with Department for Local Government to get ourselves in position to even issue bonds. So I have not represented any debt service for the new facility other than just the borrowed money. So the debt service that's being represented is the 242,000. Let's see, excuse me. Yeah, there's a fire station bond outstanding. I've got the outstanding principal balance, but the debt service for fiscal year 23 were about $240,000. And then on the bond energy project fire trucks, about $438,000. So it's what, $680,000 in this year's budget for debt service. As far as the Judicial Center goes, the county does not pay that. We are a conduit in a way, and we do represent, we are represented with that debt on our debt schedule, but we don't budget that money or I don't handle any of the payments, all that. I don't see any of that. It goes through administrative office of the courts and the bond trustee, but I do have it on the schedule. And it is on our state schedule and our quarterly reports, and and as you well know, in our audit report as well. But it's not reflected in the county budget. So yes, I'll make a note to send out that debt schedule to you all after the meeting. So on that note, the Humane Society, I have currently budgeted with use of surplus funds or general funds, depending on how you want to look at that. And then the next big ticket item in the narrative and in our budget is a budgeted commitment towards an indoor aquatic facility of $1 million. That is represented in the special projects fund. Let me share the screen again here. Share. Okay, and this $1 million in the special projects fund, that's the aquatic center. And it's just a flat amount. So it would have to, it would require either, surplus or funds from whatever general government sources you decide upon, but it is represented in the overall $41 million budget. There's been a lot of discussion, and I know the committee met after our last budget meeting. I'm not sure what the outcome of the committee meeting is, but regarding the compensation plan and what is represented in this budget document and budget proposal as it's framed. When we were looking at the documents, I showed you that I had that lined out separately for the compensation plan adjustments at the request of the judge to just show the 3% amount, which was, and some minimums that needed to be adjusted within the concept of that plan. It didn't cover everything, I guess, that is being considered in the plan, but it did. These figures that are included in the proposed budget are related to the directly related to the study that the Johansson group provided. So the general fund and the road fund and the fire fund had specific figures related to the compensation plan adjustments within them. And as was discussed, our elected, at least the county attorney and the county coroner both made requests and are reflected within the budget as well for their considerations of their office to the extent right now that it's being considered under the compensation plan. I know that there are concerns that there would be additional adjustments that would be needed in many areas. But again, for now, there is a provision, at least for this 3% portion. The jail budget presented again April 1st. So they had their own presentation, and they had a rather involved pay plan that they want to initiate for not recruiting and retention to fit the market. And the market also coincides pretty much with some of the compensation plan figures, but I just highlighted that separately because it is structured independently from all, it's incorporated into the jail budget for $164,000 more than last year. The 2% COLA, which was wrapped into the payroll figures, is identified for the general road and a fire protection fund separately. Again, it's not itemized out for the jail because they wrapped their figure into their overall proposal. So I'm highlighting these numbers here. So by fund, so basically the combination of the COLA and the compensation plan adjustments as they're represented in the budget for now amount to about $470,000 addition that are included within the plan as it's shown now.
All right, more.
My concern with putting money in the jail and the county attorney and different ones for the compensation study is those employees might get their raises long before other county workers. What's the possibility of that happening?
I'm not sure I understand that question.
Well,
How would they get it?
if we put, Rick was wanting 8%, if we put that in his budget and we put it in the county's budget and put it in the jail's budget, and we're waiting on the compensation study, what's to keep those other
You mean
constitutional offices?
do it in this year's budget in the 20?
No.
We're doing it in next year's budget. What's to keep them from doing it July 1st? And we don't get the compensation study until October 1st, and our employees get a raise then. But these outliers got theirs July 1st.
Because they don't require fiscal.
They don't require our approval to spend that money, so that's a concern for me.
Okay.
Oh, they don't require approval to spend that money.
Once their,
No,
you're
no,
saying
they're
once their budget's
constitutional
adopted.
offices. Once it's in their budget,
I see.
they can give all of it to
see
one
your-
person if they want to.
I see your point. Yeah.
So, I mean,
And I thought this
we
was the
need to put it
main,
in our overall budget, but do we? I'm just putting this out there. Do we hold it back from keep it within house until everyone is ready for it? I don't
Benny, you
know.
have a response to that? What do you say?
Yeah, I want opinions here.
I don't want to speak on that. That's what, I mean, the jail and the county attorney does not need approval for their raises, so,
I know.
but they won't get it before July 1. So
No,
I don't know.
I know, but you might not get yours until October 1
True.
or January 1. I don't know when.
It depends on what the court does with the compensation
Yeah,
study
right.
and the
They could get it
compensation.
July 1 if the court adopted the 3%.
Yeah, so the compensation,
Huh? Or
Or
never.
never get it, yeah,
Right.
so
but
we don't
that's up to
know.
the court.
Just putting that out there.
Jay Urbana wants to, Jay Urbana?
I understand your question, Squire. I use the compensation study as a tool, but I also use surrounding counties. So I would have asked what that without the compensation study. But yes, I use that 6.7% just as a guideline, if that helps you.
Yeah, I do understand that.
He's talking about the timing.
I understand.
Okay.
Thank
But
you.
if we're, yeah, just putting it out there. I don't know what to do.
Squire Tracy,
Susan, this morning I sent in a request to you in regards to the budget. I stopped in earlier today to pick some things up for today's meeting. We had a great conversation in regards to what I was requesting and why I was asking for it to be sent this way. That's exactly my concern is the same as Squire Moore's. That's kind of why I was asking if we could get the updated sheet that we were told at the last meeting we would get, and could it be broken down, the 2% COLA, and I don't want to speak for anyone else, but I don't think anyone is against the 2%. So it's like a step, and then we have to go to the compensation study in regards to a plan. I'm looking at it, and some offices are 13, 8, 12, 5. So my question is what's the plan in regards to putting out those percentages on an equal basis? Susan, like you and I talked earlier today, trying to treat everybody the same and equally. What's the plan in regards to the HR as far as how you're going to implement these, or the committee, if they'd like to speak on it? How's this compensation study, the results of it, as far as the salaries, how's that going to be implemented? Because again, back to what Squire Moore said, it looks like this department has asked for the compensation study. This elected office has asked for the compensation study results. And then you have other elected offices that haven't, or you've got other departments that are what it shows or has been identified as being 13+% down. They didn't come to us and ask for 13+%. So at the end of the day, what's the plan and how is the study going to be implemented across the board where it's fair for everyone?
go ahead, Betty.
I can speak on that. On the May 11th court, you will have 4 agenda items. The first phase is to approve the pay grade. That's the first phase. That's the first step. The second step was to pay anybody that's below the minimum pay grade. The third phase is the 3% that the county judge is asking for the employees because we are down. And the fourth step basically was the job titles. The fifth step is going to be probably in next year's budget because we can't implement everything in 1 year. And that would be getting people based on longevity where they're supposed to be in the minimum, mid, and max.
So what Squire Tracy's asking, how does the 3% help with helping the comp plan, help our employees with the comp plan? What does it do?
No. Betty Jo, I'm not asking that at all. I understand what the 3% does. If you're down 13% and you give 3, guess what? Now you're down 10%. I'm smart enough to put that together. But my question is what's the overall plan? How are you going to make sure that this salary scale is going to be implemented in a fair process to where everyone is treated equally? Because again, we're all aware things change every 4 years. So if you take care of 2 elected offices and then there's a new group that comes in, they may get the raise, like Squire Moore said. They may get it, you may not. Who knows? I can't speak on that. So I'm just trying to figure out what's fair for across the board for all county employees. Susan and I had a great conversation about it earlier.
Well, unfortunately, it's every year it's not fair. Elected offices gives raises above the CPI. So to answer your question, not all employees gets the same raise each year because the elected offices can give employees performance raises, and they do. So it's never going to be fair because elective offices that's their own budget. Now, when it comes down to ours, the judge is just asking for a 3% overall to make it fair, just to start, so we can see where the salaries are after that.
Well, I think.
Well, we've all been told that in the past, but the kicker to it is again, we've all been told we can't tell the county attorney what to do. We can't tell the clerk what to do or the sheriff or what. We understand that. But fair is when you're looking at that salary line and you put 2% on it. Okay, so, and then that group gets 2%. Again, we don't have any control over how they spend the additional 2%. So when I say fair, I mean, I'm not voting to give one group 13% and the next group 3% all in the same year. So that's why I'm trying to figure out how is it going to be implemented across the board where the percentages are handed out to where it's fair and equal.
All right, so Betty, here's the way I'm going to help you explain this, because we've looked at that process. Number one, first of all, we got to pass the comp plan that's out there. So as part of it, we looked at it in different phases. Phase 1 was to bring any employees, and with Betty's research, I think there's 8 or 9 employees that are below the minimum of the comp plan for their job. And so those employees should be part of phase 1. Phase 2 would be to bring those employees to phase 2 and 3 is a bit more complicated, but that's where it comes. We start looking at longevity for the length of time you've been here and the job, where you are in the pay structure for the number of years that you have been working, and are you being paid for, should you be below the mid-range? Should you be above the mid-range, and should you be at the highest point? So obviously we have to go back and look at employees, where they're working, what they're getting paid, how long they've been here, and start figuring that part out. And that's the fairness in it as we look at it in total. But the first phase of it today in May of 22, if it gets passed, is to equalize those employees that are below the minimum. And that should be an absolute. Johansson said that is what we should do first and foremost, is do that. And then figure out time, longevity, and pay.
But if we're putting the 8% in the constitutional offices, they don't have to, I mean, they're just going to give 8% to their employees. They're not going to, or they might give 20 to one and 2 to another, but they're not going to necessarily go by the compensation study.
Well, they really don't have to.
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't really affect them.
The thing that they're looking at is where are they in comparison to other offices, similar offices across central Kentucky.
Right.
That's their benchmark.
Right. And we trust that they do that right, but it looks bad to someone at the road department or a group at the road department or here in fiscal court building that someone else got the raise 4, 5, 6 months before they did. So I'm just putting that out there. I don't know the answer to it.
All of that's in this process here, but
yeah, I know.
It's a process of how we as the fiscal court, it's our budget, how it's presented, how you want to adopt it. Really, that's what it's all about.
Okay, and I thought that was the main reason I guess it is the main reason we were having the second budget meeting after we voted to accept what Susan had presented last month. Okay. And it is the main reason, I think. And it will make a difference of 470,000. Thank you, Susan, for figuring that out. even if we do it in stages, it will affect our overall budget for 23, fiscal year 23 by 470,000. And the fact that we are spending that money on, I think all the employees can hold on to that. And if they don't get it when everybody else does, they can still hold on to the fact that we are spending almost $500,000, $500,000 to increase their pay.
Yeah, that's true. Let's go, Susan, if it's all right with you, can we do the 2% COLA? Can we do these separately and get the court's thoughts and where they want to go one at a time? And I think you need this for the budgetary process, Susan, to finalize, to pull things all together. Is that correct? We can't hear you, Susan. You're on mute.
We need a document to work with. And so you're saying I'm not sure what it is you're saying right now.
Okay.
The current document has both the 2%.
There's two aspects of this.
Mhm.
Tonight, we're not voting on accepting the comp plan.
Right.
And so we may, the 3% is, could come at another meeting, but we are definitely looking at a COLA factor, cost of living factor.
Okay, so what we're trying to do here is get a document for first reading. The judge has put this together with this proposal now, so want a document hopefully that has at least a framework that everyone can come to consensus on. We can have a first reading and drill down as many numbers as we can prior to that, and then send that off to the state for their review and have something that we can get in place. So, or what you're saying is just incorporate the 2% COLA for now and leave the comp plan out of the.
No. Sorry.
What are you saying?
I'm saying that I'm putting it out on the table here at this budgetary session to talk about what the court so desires on whether to do a 2% COLA and whether not to do a 2% COLA, whether to add more to the COLA. I don't know. So that's all. I'm trying to get to a position of, okay, we got something in place.
Yeah, that was the starting point. Yeah, I say do the 2% COLA.
Okay. Any other, see, Squire Tracy, you had your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with Squire Moore. I think we've got to start somewhere. So, yeah, I agree with him. Let's put the 2% in there for employees. Now, I do have a question for Susan. Susan, in regards to the narrative that we received in regards to the sheriff. So that 1.2 that you have on this sheet, does that include that 2%?
The sheriff's office budget was adopted in January.
Understand. But what I'm asking is all county employees receive 5% on January 1. So if we give out 2% today, or if we commit to 2% or even possibly 5%, wouldn't the clerk's office and the sheriff's office, wouldn't they receive those same raises, considering every county employee received it in January, unlike normal years?
It would be a separate court action. It would have to be, they would have to make a request for that specifically and amend their budgets, and then fiscal court has to approve their amended budget. So.
And has there been any conversation in regards to those two individuals or those two offices about this, what's being proposed? Do you have any idea?
They are aware of it. They haven't said, because we can't get you all to decide where to go, so that there's nothing we can say until there's a decision made on whether they want to be, and I'm sure they would. I would think that they would want.
Okay. So they're aware of it. So what would be the impact? Obviously the clerk can carry his own, what would be the impact to the county budget if the sheriff received 5% per employee? Did you all discuss that with him when you all made him aware of it?
Well, she's got that in there. Then you included all of that, didn't you, Susan? In that 469,000?
No,
No.
the sheriff's office is not included in any of this.
Okay.
What's represented in the budget for the sheriff's office are the figures that they, well, as you recall, when we review the fee office budgets, there's two parts. There's the payroll part and then their lump sum budget.
Correct.
So if they want to make changes that they can't already accommodate within their existing budget, they would have to come back to fiscal court to ask for additional spending authority for their payroll. But as it's repeatedly stated, the specific budgets or the specific amounts people get paid in those offices is not on a flat percentage. It's whatever that officer decides to spend for their deputies. Fiscal court may have some sort of methodology about justifying the amount by taking last year's budget and adding a percentage, but that's not how it comes out in people getting paid at all in those offices. So it's just, again, a method of allocating money, and then how it actually gets spent or distributed, unfortunately or fortunately, at least by statute for those offices, they have the freedom to handle it as they will. Now, that's very different for the jailer, who is specifically, a part of the fiscal court budget and does not generate any, fees per se to cover their pay plan. So their pay plan proposal does have more limitations on it as far as the number of staff that they can have in particular. And then because it's a part of the fiscal court budget, it has, obviously has more input by the fiscal court about what the jailer is able to do.
Let's hold on a second. Squire Booth's got a question. Then we'll let Jake Bonner.
Okay.
That was fine.
When the sheriff and I guess the county clerk too presented their budget, a line was in there saying that they would not spend more than a certain amount on their staff. Am I right about that? Well,
Yes,
then.
you're correct. That's their annual order, as it's referred to.
Annual order, yeah.
Yes,
Right.
so the pay increases have to adhere to that total amount that they put in their budget when it was approved. Isn't that correct?
That is correct. But again, the animals are different because the clerk's office is purely administrative. So his percentages are pretty straightforward because there's no overtime. But when you talk about shift work and work that has emergency response and a lot of possibilities for variations, there's a lot more contingency that has to be built into the budget and to give the officer freedom to respond that way, and the judgment to manage their budget that way. So if you budget 5% on top of you've already got built in 5% overtime, and then you do a 5% budget, it gets not, I won't say inflated, but it's just a different measure. So
that total sum for their deputies and staff, they have to, the fee officer or the elected officer has to figure that out before he presents his budget. He has to figure out what to expect in that amount.
Yeah, certainly. And our sheriff Sheriff Choir has done a great job with fiscal management. And actually, when you look, if you did a budget comparison, and as we do how, to a great extent at fiscal court, we don't do for the fee offices, okay? Their audits don't even have a budgetary comparison component in it. But when you go back and look at their budgets, their budgeted numbers and their actuals, and in particular, I know the last couple of years, the sheriff's office, their annual order figure and their actual payroll, there was a big variance to our favor, I might say, that so of maybe even over $100,000 that they did not spend for whatever reason.
Yeah, okay.
So
Well, that should be a part of any candidate's qualifications for the job, I would say.
The question here is, and Squire Booth and Squire Tracy, you've been on, this is your 8th budget, and we know there have been years when we gave a 2% to our employees, and then the sheriff's office and the county clerk's office didn't get it until January, when their budget came about. There have been years when we've given a percentage to our employees and they got it at the same time. There have been years when we gave, just like last year, we gave a 5% raise to all employees starting January 1st. Our employees got it on January 1st. It's just at the same time that the clerk and the sheriff got it. So it's been all over the board. It has to be one of those things where, unfortunately, because those two budgets come January, our budget, the jailer's budget come in July.
Yeah.
It's just an anomaly.
Why?
But the way to look at it, any way the court decides whether you want to do it. Our employees in the jail start in July, the sheriff and the clerk in January, or do you want the sheriff and the clerk to start with raises in July with everybody else? It's up in the air. Nobody has said anything. It's just kind of there until the court decides.
So it's up to the fiscal court to decide
To
that.
make that decision.
Wow.
And we've made it. You've
Yeah.
made it
Every year.
every year. You've decided what you want to do every year.
Yeah. Wow, I wish I had all that stored in my brain somewhere.
Well, see you too.
Well,
I'm sorry, I forgot about you.
It hasn't always been. The inflation's a big factor here.
Yeah, the
Cost of
anomaly, yeah, the elephant in the room is inflation.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's a good point. Thank you. Thank you, Squire.
Yes, well,
Hold on, Squire Blackburn.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Judge. Yeah, I guess on my third one, fourth one, and this one's a lot different than in years past. I know with the compensation plan has added some degree of differences, albeit it shouldn't be much more difficult. I know I'd asked the treasurer for an update. I know we got an appropriations analysis and an expense analysis. And on the appropriations, they haven't changed. But when I look at the expenses on our original sheet, and I know we've been talking a lot and people have been explaining a lot on why there's differences, but judges staff 6.96. I've had my calculator out for 2 weeks. Attorney staff 5% with a comp adjustment, some extra per whatever extra is for the county attorney. Coroner staff 3.88, P&Z 31.8%, but I know that's artificial because of the part-time to full-time position. Park 9.42%, park seasonal 22.6%, golf 7.4%, golf seasonal 7.4%, road workers 9.48%, jail deputies 8.21%, firefighters 9.7%, county clerk 5%, sheriff deputies 8.43%, treasurer 21%. What I'm not seeing here on the papers that I have in front of me is on the narrative, the updated narrative that we got before this meeting, and I did print out the email that I got a couple of hours ago and have it in front of me. It doesn't have any numbers attached to it. It says 2% CPI plus 3% comp adjustment for compensation adjustment per the plan. That's 5%. And I know there's overtime and things involved, but like I say, I'm a numbers guy and these numbers are all over the board, and having a narrative with no numbers beside it and then having numbers that don't represent the narrative, it's a little more than confusing for me. So
what's your question? We'll have Susan answer. Ask your question. We'll have Susan answer the best we can.
well, my question is can we get a printout that has the expenses match up to the appropriations based on the narrative? That's what I need.
What narrative?
Susan, can you answer that question?
Well, first of all, I'll say the input, I have a spreadsheet that has every single county employee's name on it, their current rate of pay, what a 2% increment is, and what a 3% increment is by employee. Some of those employees work overtime, some of them don't, but barring that, those figures, and when you just look at the budgetary comparison, you have to take into account that we had that the mid-year raise. So there's going to be some blur there as far as what the percentage works out to be. But it sounds like to me, really, that's what you want. You want to see everybody's salary.
No.
And I mean, that's how it drills down. That's where the explanation is. So, I mean, and as far as the treasurer's position and the variance there, the position salary was changed.
It was voted on by full
Thank
court.
you very much. And going forward, there will be a new person in this position. I'm not sure what the pay will be, but I left it at the new position salary as it is now, which depending on who you employ at whatever level, it should be. If it's at a more introductory level, then it would probably accommodate both me having some overlap with them and the new position. But you can make that change along the way. As far as many of the other variances, I mean, the planning and zoning, we've got a position that went full-time mid-year. So that's going to.
I noted that. Yeah, I'm just wanting this.
And as far as the elected officials go, I mean, the county attorney and the county coroner, they pick a number and they go with that number. It doesn't match the actual. So, when I'm doing a percentage, I, like you, will go with what is, the actual salary they're getting right now and do the percentage. I don't say, well, what was budgeted last year, and I'll add a percentage on top of that.
I understand.
So,
well, and when we did it the year before and the year before that, the numbers weren't as all over the board as they are now.
Obviously, because we didn't have a comp plan to take into account, and the minimum adjustments. There were, I don't know how many, 10 or so that had some significant changes because of the minimums, that getting them up to at least the minimum. So those come into play.
But nothing in our narrative says getting people up to narratives. It says 2%.
It's comp plan adjustments and minimum, I think is what it says. But look, here's another way to look at this, or the way you should always look at it. Again, like the fee offices, there are two components. You've got your payroll component, and you will have with the budget document, you'll have to have court action on what you want to do. Okay. You'll adopt an appropriations plan. Okay. that's fine. But just because the line item for the treasurer says $200,000 because I made a typo, doesn't mean I'm going to get $200,000. Okay. You have a separate court action that says fiscal court is adopting, a plan to provide a 2% cost of living adjustment for these positions, which would not include my position because my salary's already been set. Regardless of a comp plan or the 2% COLA, it's been set based on the existing comp plan. So you have an action that says you're going to do a 2% COLA. You show the exceptions or you show the lines that it affects, and it says you're adopting the jail compensation plan as provided, in the jail proposed budget, and you're adopting the county attorney and the county coroner's plans for their offices, and you lay it out in your action document for affecting those changes. So that budget variance by the line item doesn't control spending every dollar of overtime that you have contingency in there, or filling every position because you have vacancies at the fire or the jail. You still have that built into your budget, but and the allowance for that to occur, but it's your separate court action on the compensation plan and on that action, as well as the COLA on that action, that will control how much individuals are going to get paid. And that the mid-year raise was a wonderful thing for everyone, but the budget, when you start looking at the initial budget, and then some line items have been adjusted and some of them haven't, the variances will be messy. So no one's trying to hide anything or get something more than someone else. Fairness is definitely what this effort is about.
I totally understand that. I'm just trying to
Okay.
have numbers connected to the instructions, I guess. I know we've done it multiple years, and it's different this year, and it's a lot.
It'll be different next year too, I bet you.
Well, I get it, but it hasn't been up until this year, and I'm not saying that's a good or bad thing. I'm just saying
I'll get you
the
started.
way we've been presented the information is different this year, and that's fine.
Mhm.
But and I would like to give everybody a raise. I'd like to give all the social agencies all the money they ask for. But the bottom line is, can we afford it? Are we making enough money and using it wisely enough to pay everybody what they're worth and run the county in an efficient and cost-effective way? There's a lot of things that come into play. It's not just let's just give everybody raises. We can do it, but if we don't have the money to do it, it's not going to end well for our county.
Squire Booth has a question.
Yes. The compensation study seems to be the big gorilla in the room, as they say sometimes. And I want to know who initiated that study. Was it Human Resources or was it the Compensation Committee?
Go ahead, Betty.
I don't want to answer. I believe it was after those articles was published in the State Journal last year. KSU, the city and Frankfurt Plant Board, and the household medium average, we was $10,000 less. And that prompted a lot of employees asking questions that we needed a full compensation study. Anybody can jump in and correct me if I'm wrong. And so the Frankfurt Plant Board contacted me and about the salaries, because they was doing their compensation study review with the Johansson Group. So I talked to Frankfurt Plant Board and the city, and basically they're doing the same. Actually, the city's doing the same thing right now. They hired a Johansson Group also. And I believe after the articles, the judge, we took it to court and we presented this to you all on, I believe, September of last year. And the compensation committee met. Mr. Johansson presented several PowerPoint slides, and this is kind of where we are today. I don't know if that helped sum it up.
Squire Booth, my talks with the city,
Uh-huh.
as we try to raise our employees' salaries up to be commensurate with everybody else's.
Yeah,
The city's going through this process, and soon as we get to this one, soon as we get to the starting gate to be equal, they will already have jumped quite a bit more, because they're going through the same thing. They see that their employees, compared to other cities, are not being paid with other cities. So this is a process.
Wow.
It's something that when you're in personnel and you value our employees like we do,
yes.
we want the best for them.
Well,
We
we
want it to be
try to
a
make
good
this a better
market.
place to work.
That's exactly right.
And we
Thank you.
definitely want to invest in our county employees. I mean, we invest in buildings and all these, equipment and my opinion, the number one investment in county employees, they're the one that runs the services is Franklin County.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, Squire
so-
Moore has a question. Squire Moore.
It's more of a statement. About a little history lesson here. About 10 years ago, we didn't have, if you put the money in the budget, the county judge could give raises willy-nilly as he pleased. We don't do that anymore. It has to come before fiscal court, and we have to vote to give those raises. So if we put it in the budget, it stays there until we decide to vote it into raises.
Stays in the budget until we decide to pass the
It comes-
budget. Is that?
No. We passed the budget before the county judge could give one or two people all the money if they wanted to. If there was extra money in there after the 2% or whatever we gave, they could give that money, the judge could give that money to whoever. We changed that to where the fiscal court has to vote for those raises.
I see.
So if we put 5% in there, they only get the 2% unless it comes back to us and we vote for 3% in.
Yeah, well, I am glad that I am quitting this year. And all of you that are now magistrates, watch out. Okay,
Watch out for.
anger from the electorate because the fact that we're having to spend more money and the county employees, bless their hearts, have a good work environment now, as far as I'm concerned, because they can complain as much as they want and we listen. And we've got a good human resources department. And we've already, because of a compensation study that was required by the employees that we have, I assume that's where it came from.
Well, we voted it to be done.
Yes, but I mean, initiated by the county employees. We are becoming willing to spend $500,000 to give raises. And I think that is a wonderful thing, but if we can't afford it and have to raise taxes, it's not good. So here we are in I think, almost an impossible situation. But if it depends on whether the county employees are happy or not, I think that they should be. And we can pass that. We can pass that into the budget.
Okay, who else did I see other hands up? Jada Bonham, sorry.
I have a question. I just want to simplify. Squire Moore, I remember that history lesson, and I try to not do that here. we try to give our raises across the board. This time it's a little different for the starting pay, and then everybody above that would be $1. But we have, I just want to remind the court, we have a pay scale that you all have adopted and we stay within. So we'll continue to do that.
Did you propose that pay scale?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
mean, did the jailer, propose the pay scale?
That pay scale was adopted when I became the jailer already. We will adjust it if this budget's passed it. I'm sorry, passed, but it will remain in effect how we use it, where we have to stay in those guidelines.
I see. Okay.
I want my employees to be fair across the board. I understand what Squire Moore said. I remember that, and I don't want that to ever happen to any of my employees.
Let's make this clear. All of us want our employees paid the way they should. And I commend you. I commend Jeff Hancock. I commend Chris Squire, Will Herod, Rick Sparks, all the elected officials. All of us want the best for our employees.
And we understand that you have to retain your employees. That's number one there at the jail.
Well, and I was just looking at my numbers here. We're 2 months out from being to July, and I've got 380 some thousand left in payroll, and that's because of our numbers. I mean, I've got to try to get us to 48 so I can do some things I want to do to bring revenue in. I'm at 41 right now, and 2 of those haven't started. I'm counting 2 I've hired this week. So I'm really at 39. I've got to do something to be competitive to retain, and I've got to be competitive to be able to attract people to come here. And right now I'm just not.
Well,
Thank you all for your time.
yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion on the 2%?
Well, why are we talking about the 2%?
That's all we've gotten to right now.
I've gotten
Yeah.
2 people for general consensus of being okay with the 2%, and that's Squire Moore and Squire Tracy.
Yeah, I'm okay with the 2%.
Okay.
Yeah, so am I. That's a COLA you're talking about.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, looks like okay. So Susan, we've got an affirmative a consensus, close to consensus on the 2%.
Okay.
Okay. Squire Sebastian.
I was just going to respond. I understood someone, and I wasn't clear who, had indicated that maybe two votes or 2 comments had been made to the affirmative for the 2%. Having not spoken about it, I would certainly be for the 2%. I just don't know if that question was being asked of us or what it was. So I'm just trying to make sure I understand.
Okay, no. All right. Any other discussion on that?
2%? No.
2%. Okay. The next item is where do you, we're not gonna vote, I guess, today. It's not on the agenda. There's no voting for the compensation plan, where to go with that. I would assume, Betty, that the compensation plan is, since it and all the other variables are on, out of those 5 things would be for next week's court agenda.
Yes, Judge, but I do have a question.
Okay.
On May 11th, it is going to be the compensation study, abstracts. I need to know if we need to have the Mr. Johansson available, because he has been paid and he came actually last time for free to the compensation committee. So I need to know if there's going to be questions asked that he needs to answer that I can't answer. If so, I need to get approval to pay him. It's $180 per hour for his fee if he is needed for May 11th. And I'm not for sure if there's going to be more questions by the court. So I'm not for sure what you all want me to do with that. If you all want him available on May 11th.
No.
No. Marty says no.
I would assume you've been, I would assume,
the members of the court feel like you need Mr. Johansson back on the May 11th meeting?
I would think Betty Jo's been with him from day one, step one, so she should be able to answer any questions that arise. That's where I'm at.
Squire Muller?
Thank you, Judge. Yeah, I would agree. I don't believe he's needed. I think we've talked to him enough. I think right now, what we're struggling with is how to implement it, the plan over the next couple of years, how to bring our employees up to where they need to be. So I think surely we could figure that out between the fiscal court. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Okay.
Mr. Hancock?
On your 2%, is that going to be across all fees? Is that going to be across all offices? Because the fee offices as well. I mean, are you going to take that? If we're offering 2%, are we going across to make sure all county employees are in this 2%?
Well, what do you
The
think?
question really is, are we going to put it in for July 1st for everybody? Or are we going to put it in July 1st for the fiscal court and the jail? I think that's a clearer question. Right, Jeff? Okay, so let's see.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Okay, let's see what the consensus is on that.
Well, the calendar offices ought to get it sometimes everyone else, if we can.
I agree.
So on July 1st,
Yes.
okay? And Marty agrees with that? And I can go along with that I can go along with that if that's what's needed. Squire Tracy?
Yeah, Judge, I think everyone received one again like January the 1st. So that was across the board countywide. So I can't imagine giving a 2% COLA, not to all of them. The clerk and the sheriff should receive the same.
Okay. All right, so that's a 2% COLA for Jailer Bonham?
I'm confused now. Do I need to amend my budget to just 2%? Because that takes my pay start to 1530 for the next year. My starting pay.
Susan, will you help Jailer Bonham on that question? I thought you already had in there like an 6% raise, and would that the 2% be part of that? I don't know.
Yeah, you can include the 2%. I'm at a number, not a real percent. The number's 8.2 for the line item, but across the board, it's different for employees because of their pay range. But the starting, my main concern is the starting pay and being fair across the board. If I'm going to stay in next year's fiscal court year in 1530, we're going to struggle like we have almost for 2 years.
And Jailer Bonner, I think what we decided earlier today was let's get a starting point, because the comp plan study percentage is different from the COLA that was proposed by the judge. So we're just trying to get the COLA percentage straightened out first. So, and it sounds like that 2%, quote unquote, the COLA, it sounds like that everybody's good with that 2%. So the comp plan, that additional, anything above 2%, it would refer to the quote unquote, the comp plan, if that makes sense for you.
So
I don't think that's quite it. No.
We talk about 2%.
Have you already implemented that pay raise?
no, ma'am, not until it's passed.
Okay, well then 2% is fine because all the employees are getting that.
I understand that, ma'am.
The fee offices too.
So
There's Neil Muller.
So are you asking, Mr. Bonner, for an additional 2% into what you put in? What do you ask? I'm sorry.
Absolutely. I'm just asking for my budget that I propose to be passed. That 2% is great. I appreciate it. Every county employee across the board will, but mine's built in.
Okay,
Oh.
okay, yeah. So
I didn't know that.
I think it'd be my opinion that stays in there until or if a majority of the court members say they want it to come out. I'm not proposing that. I'm not seeing that. But if that is the case, then that would be the only way it would come out and be changed. if majority of the court members say, I want to look at the jail's budget and I want to change what's being offered, what's being asked for.
We've
for
already-
starting pay.
Approved that jail budget, haven't we?
We just accepted it.
Accepted it,
Yeah.
okay.
Received.
Sorry, received.
Received.
All right.
I'm fine with your word, Judge.
Squire Muller, you had your hand up, and I'm sorry.
Thank you, Judge. Judge Labanta, it's my understanding coming out of committee, we wanted to take to the full fiscal court. So I think the COLA was just agreed on, as Squire Tracy said, as a starting point. And I think May 11th, we'll be talking about this again. So I don't think anything's, we're moving along.
I'm just trying to be clear. I need a number to be competitive and I need a number to be fair. And I will remind the court, I gave everybody $1 across the board raise last year and didn't raise that line item any. So I appreciate every one of you.
Jay Labana, what I was trying, you've got an 8.7 reflected in your line item. So when I said the 2% COLA, if you take that 2% that's been talked about today, and you add it to the discrepancy of what your office shows that it's minus 6.7, you put those together, that would reflect that 8.7 that you have in your budget. You said that's where
I'm tracking with you now.
Yeah, yeah. We went to Peaks Mill. You are done. You get that.
Ms. Welch taught us the same numbers.
Yes. Okay. Yes, sir. Thank you.
You understand that?
Okay. All right. Anything else on that?
Well, okay, so now I don't understand.
I don't
figured
either.
you-
Okay.
I figured you-
2%.
You're saying, do you want to strip all the money out? Is that, or do you want to leave a contingency for a comp plan that you're going to consider on May 11th, or
At this
or you don't
point,
want a budget with the comp plan in it?
at this
And
point,
then how does, what number do you want for the jail? And what number do you want for the county attorney and the coroner?
let me try to clear this up, and if I'm wrong, somebody will speak up. What I'm thinking is that there's a 2% across the board for including the fee offices, except for the jail. The jail has a built-in budget that is part of his budget to present to the court, which was presented back the 1st of April. Okay, and the jail is the anomaly of all of the offices because of the issues with hiring people for that facility. So that is an exception to this process. However, he does have a built-in pay structure that helps his employees across the board. Now, if the court decides to go after any of that, that's another story. Everybody else as a total would be a 2% cost of living raise, including the clerk and the sheriff, starting July 1st. So that's your appropriation. Now, we haven't talked about Rick Sparks, because Rick Sparks has more money in his as well. So I guess the court needs to affirm or at least discuss where you want with Rick Sparks, because
He may have that built into his budget.
he has it built in, a higher amount. He has a higher amount built in.
I see.
It's not here, is it?
But, okay,
Well, we need to talk about the 3% if we want to put it in or hold it out until after next week's vote.
well, it doesn't matter. To me, I just leave it in and then next week it'll be taken out or kept in.
Okay.
So the easiest thing to do, if it's in, just leave it in there till next week, because it doesn't make any difference. So just leave it in, but also add the 2%. The 2% is going to change the figures, Susan. you understand it's gonna change the figures because we're now adding the clerk and the
Sheriff.
sheriff in.
Well,
Okay,
I won't, that won't affect our budget except for the fringe benefits.
yeah,
Because that's-
but
they
the
cover the
3%,
payroll.
the 3% leave it.
Until they make their budgetary changes,
leave it
that's,
as it
that'll be
is.
on their own. Yeah.
Just leave it, okay? And then, because it's a separate anomaly out there issue until the court gets a chance to go through its process and vote. And the key vote would be, are you going to accept the comp plan? If you don't accept the comp plan, then 3%'s out anyway.
Oh,
Comp plan is the first piece in any of it. And then if you do, then you can say to leave the 3% in, or you can take it out. But if you don't accept it, it's out.
Okay,
It's out.
sounds good to me.
Squire Tracy,
Betty Jo, back to, just gonna circle back to make sure I understand this. So, if we're talking about the jail and the jailer, obviously, 8.7 is what he has figured into his line item. If I'm looking at the market pay study and looking at the variance, that's 6.7 plus that 2% COLA. So that's where that 8.7 comes from. Okay. So next year, when we're back here again, or during future conversations, that variance, if the jailer's budget passes, that variance you can check off and say that in regards to this market pay study, the jailer's office is complete. He's already been, his office would have been taken care of. Is that the way you're looking at this?
oh,
Yes,
that's what you mean. Okay.
Okay. I just want, so like at the attorney's office, it says 4%
As long
variance.
as long as we stay competitive, as long as we keep it with the CPI, yes, that is correct.
Okay, that's what I'm asking. So at the attorney's office where it says 4%, if his line item this year reflected 6%, you would check off the attorney's office as long as that CPI next year stays up to date where it's at. That's staying in the, or on the right path per se. Is that how you're looking at? I'm just trying to make sure I'm looking at this. Right.
Well, I need to clarify something because I think we're getting confused here. That comp study is the minimum interest for a new employee to come in. That's not based on longevity.
Okay, I'm not looking at anything but percentages that
talking
reflect.
about-
Yeah, I know, but that's the
down.
average is what I'm saying. That's the minimum rate that an employee comes in. That's that sheet you're looking at right there. That is the minimum
No,
of
I
a
think
new
it's the average.
employee.
It's the average.
It's the average of the office.
Okay, that's what they're looking at.
Oh,
That's
okay.
average of the
Okay.
office, yes. That's not.
So I'm just,
Average of the
okay,
office.
okay, I'm just trying to make sure we're all on the same page. All right, thank you, Betty Jo.
You're welcome. And I do want to clarify something, Judge, just because I don't know, I might have misspoke or someone on the court, but the 2% is not the starting point for the compensation study. The 2% was the 7% that the elected officials received in January of the CPI. It ended at 7%. So the 2% is not the starting point of the compensation study.
No, and that was a miss.
Oh, okay,
The
okay.
2% is
I'm
nothing
sorry.
to do with
Okay.
the
Thank
compensation
you.
study.
The
Correct.
3%
It's
is
cost of
the,
living to-
yes,
to-
sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
it's
thank
part
you.
of it, yeah.
Okay, thank
got you
you.
now. Thank you, Tracy.
Okay, all right, other questions? All right, seeing that we got 25 minutes to get into the
Social agency.
social agencies. What's the pleasure of the court? I know Squire Sebastian needs to leave at 5 exactly, and that will abide by her request do you want to go through the social agencies quickly, or do you want to come back and meet again?
No, let's go through.
Well, let's see what we can do.
All right,
Scotty,
Judge,
Judge.
yeah, so Squire Tracy.
I'm sorry, I know this is about social agency, so I'm sorry. I just got a couple questions and maybe these questions, I hope she's got the answers, but maybe if she doesn't, she can get them for us before we really start to dig into the social agencies. In regards to the request that's been made by the agencies, how many agencies, do we have a list of the agencies that has received COVID or CARES funding? And if so, how much?
No, we don't have that information.
Okay, can we get that?
I'm not sure how long that would take. I'd have to make a separate request to each agency to
Okay.
ask that of them. I'm happy to do that, but I don't know, how quickly the response would be.
Okay, no, I totally get it. And then my next question would be in regards to the CARES Coalition, what is the status of that, and which agencies are a part of that or have signed up to be a part of that? Do we have that list?
We don't have that. We haven't been involved in that CARES Coalition, so
Okay.
we don't have that information, but I can certainly email Blair and ask her that question.
Okay, and then memory serves me correctly, there was a question in the past about agencies that are not a part of the CARES Coalition and requesting funds through this process. It seems like just changes, it's just sizable changes in regards to the request in general. Do you know if these agencies that are a part of the CARES Coalition, how's that all going to work in regards to they're a part of the CARES Coalition now? They're getting money from different I guess different avenues, they're going to be receiving grants. They're going to be writing, they've got a director and they're going to be working for grants and so forth. If that makes sense. So do you know if there's been any requests made yet by the CARES Coalition, and has there been any funding received?
I'll be glad to pose those questions to Blair Hecker, since she's kind of spearheading that coalition,
Okay.
and find that information out for you.
Okay, thank you.
Don't forget that
That's
we
good.
chose not to be part of the CARES Coalition.
Yes, I remember.
No, I'm just asking questions. I know that they're going to use all avenues to raise funds and to be able to possibly sustain themselves. So I'm just trying to ask questions.
That might reduce our contribution to them.
Okay.
And I have to, in support of, a lot of these agencies already do that for themselves. They do rely on a lot of grant funds as well as our contribution. So I'm sure everybody's aware of that.
Thank you.
All right, let's start at the top. It's the majority rules.
Judge,
Yes, sir.
sorry. I personally would like to see the information that's been requested that Ann said that she would work hard on getting. I'd like to see that information before I place a vote in regards to the social agencies.
Are there 4 people that want that? If not, we'll move forward. 4 people want.
Yeah.
Marty says no. Lambert?
Well, the CARES funding, the COVID funding would be important because that's a one-time thing, but the grants, Ann has suggested that those agencies apply every year for grants.
Okay, Squire Blackburn?
Yes, thank you, Judge. I've never had a problem with having more information than I already have to help make a decision. So I think I don't think this will take long to go over, and the more information in our hand, I think will just give us that better of a stronger decision-making process. So I don't mind waiting to get that information.
I don't think it's a matter of how much time it'll take once we get the information. It's a matter of how much time it'll take to get the information.
Right, to get the,
Yeah,
I understand that, and I still feel the
When's our
same
next
thing.
budget work session?
we haven't set one up yet. We haven't set one of those up.
When an agency's asking for 900% more than they got last year, I don't think they'll have a hard time fulfilling a request as simple as something that's on their books. So I don't have a problem with waiting.
I don't have a problem with, saying no, if somebody wanting that much more either. So,
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, that's, it's,
but yeah, we can wait that. More information is always better.
everybody else okay with waiting, trying to get this information? I would say, Ann, that, we're gonna have to say that, Ann, are you clear on what you're gonna need to ask for first? Let me go.
Yes, so what the court is asking is they would like to know which, if any, of the agencies received federal money related to the pandemic. And they'd also like to know which agencies belong to the CARES Coalition and how that funding is going to be allocated from the coalition. Is that correct?
And if they
Yeah.
received federal monies, how much money?
Okay. I'll be happy to ask those questions.
Okay, it looks like we'll just go again, since next Wednesday is fiscal court meeting, we'll go the Wednesday after that, the 18th at 3 o'clock again. Wednesday, the 18th from 3 to 5. And hopefully at this point in time, well, the only thing we'll have on there will be the social agencies. That gives them 2 weeks to get that information in and to you. I'll let the magistrates who are asking for this, does their funding depend solely on whether they, not solely, but does their funding depend on the information that they give us by this date? You all speak of that up, because I think Ann needs to make sure that if that is the case, that's clear.
Judge, in my case, it would not solely depend on the information. It just is more information to help make a good decision. So if they don't get it in time, I understand, but I think it just gives us a better opportunity to make a better informed decision.
Okay, that's okay. I think that'd be helpful to them.
Did you say 3 to 5?
3 to 5 on the 18th.
Okay.
Okay. 3 to 5 on the 18th. Everybody got that?
Yes.
Okay. 3 to 5 on the 18th. Tamara, okay?
Judge,
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
I'm looking for the date of the first reading of the budget.
Okay. Why don't we make that on the 18th? Can we do it that day? You need it by June 1st, don't you?
Well,
Do you know, don't we have a meeting before June 1st?
No. May
When-
11th is the only meeting,
But then when's the next one?
June 1st.
Hey, well, why couldn't we have the budget approved on June 1st?
You mean the first reading?
First reading, yes.
Department for Local Government
Oh, yeah, that's right. They want it on.
would
I'm
really
sorry.
like to have it on June 1st. So
Next meeting after June 1st is the 16th, looks like. Is that right, Tamara?
They want it before June 1st.
Okay.
Well, we would meet.
Fiscal court 16th, that's right. That's
Well,
what I've
okay,
got.
well, let's,
Yeah, Monday.
we'll put on there, if possible, we'll get a first reading on
Well,
May
I,
the 18th.
well, you're going to be discussing a funding line, right?
Yes. Social agencies?
Is that the only line?
Yes.
So, okay,
Can you do that?
I just, so you want a document, let me see where we need to be right now. You just want.
Let me clear up one thing, Susan, before you go on. On May 11th, there will be a decision made whether we go with the compensation plan and have a 3%
Across the board.
compensation adjustment in it or not. So on May 11th, you'll be clear about that piece of it,
$187,000, basically,
whatever that amount is.
$187,000.
Okay, you'll be clear about that by the 18th. The 18th, the last piece of the budget, unless there are other changes, and there could be, will be the social agencies. Squire Sebastian.
Thank you, Judge. And I think to the treasurer's point, it sounds like everyone else, if we need to be available for a special meeting just to have the first reading of the budget somewhere after the 18th and prior to June 1st to allow our treasurer to assimilate all the figures and all the documents in there for a very clean first reading, I feel certain the court would be amenable to having that as a special meeting with that the only topic on the agenda. I think we've had to do that before. I mean,
I don't mind doing that. I'm just trying to make it easier for everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
And
And
if Susan can't get it done, then we won't do it.
exactly. I think we're on the same page. That's all. You know, rather than trying to rush the budget, which we are the fiscal court. That is the primary duty that we're, responsible.
Fiscal.
So again, no one's wanting to cause our treasurer to have to rush through the process and perhaps transpose a number or something like that. So if it is doable by the 18th, we will accommodate that schedule. If it's not, we can have a single item, agenda special meeting and address it and be complete prior to and give her time to do what she needs to do. That's all. We're saying the same thing. That's all.
Okay, all right, everybody clear?
Yes,
All right, okay. And the next meeting will be next week. Remember, we have a meeting on the 11th. The 11th is a 5 o'clock meeting. And then on
Also, the public hearing for the LGA.
the LGA fund is public hearings at 4:30 if you want to come to that. The court doesn't have to be here for that, but I will be here to listen to any concerns about the LGA fund. And then the next meeting after that will be on a week later on the 18th, and that will be from 3 to 5 on the 18th. Okay? All right. Thanks, everybody. We are adjourned on this meeting. Okay, thanks, everybody.
all right.